Okay, so today I want to show you guys some different tools that you would use in Rhino. So I'm going to create a new model. I'm going to create a chandelier, and the tools can be used for making this chandelier, of course, but they can be used in various other ways. So I'm going to go to a top view first. You actually go to all my views here. Draw a circle. The first tool I want to show you is the lofting tool. So I'm going to circle just anywhere with a diameter of 6 inches. Enter. And then I want to do it again. And my snaps are all on properly here. So I can go close to the line here, and my center will come up, and I'll make sure, and I'll just click right, put me right in the center. And this time I want to put a diameter of 2. And then do it again. Go to my center. And if you have snap to the quadrant, so you have to kind of go in an arbitrary place over here to get that center line. And I'll do a diameter of 3.5. Alright, that should probably be enough. So I'm going to go to a front view here. And I'm choosing the front view because I want the grid to be aligned in this. Always right click and go to set view and make it perspective so I can see it in 3 dimensions easier. But the grid will stay aligned vertical, so when I'm moving things it'll be much easier. So move, enter, and I'm going to select this and move it up about 3 inches. Click, and one up about 5 inches. Click. And then I want to copy this one. Well, this one down. And see, I'm clicking over here in the empty space because I don't want to accidentally snap on a quadrant and move it over here, or snap, a center point and move it in a weird place. See, so that these ones didn't move where I wanted them to. So let me copy again. And that's kind of the key to moving. I always move things by clicking out in space. And of course I've got my ortho on, so I'm locked in, going up and down. So now I'm going to click right there, enter. And then this one is actually a little too big, so I might scale it down instead of redrawing it, just to show you the scale tool. So you type scale, enter, and I'll click on this center point. This is my origin point, and hit 1. Oops. And scale it down. So let me do that again. Scale, enter, click on the object, enter, select a point, and then it just wants you to select a reference point. If I select a point, it'll scale up bigger. A close reference point, it'll scale up, slower. So now I can kind of bring it in a little bit, and the one above it. Okay. So now what I want to do is I'm actually making, I guess I scaled it in the wrong direction here. So what I can do now, move it from the center point here to the center point here. And so it's in line again, and then move it again and just select out in the void. And that's how I get it back in line. Alright, now let me loft it. So I'm going to change the view here to shaded so you can see it better when I do it. And you just type loft. And this will work for anything. So for sculptural objects, bottles, it works well for table legs, you name it, even things. So I just click these curves in lofting order, enter, and then you can see it's got I can drag the seam to adjust it. I can modify it, right? But I'm just gonna have it work this way. Just hit enter, and then I can close the loft if I want to, which will make it a closed polysolid. So I'll close the loft. Oops. Well, see what it does is it builds an interior inside of it. Changes the shape a little bit. So I'm just going to keep it like this for now. And click loft. Okay. And then what I can do is I can close this by and cap planar holes. Click on that. Enter. And it caps it off for me. The next thing I can do is I can shell, enter, click on the face to remove from poly surface, so I can just click on that, enter, and it may have an internal geometry, but not quite the way I wanted it to. So I'll hit shell again, thickness, I want 1/4, 1/4, and then click here for the face to remove, enter. Okay. And what this is going to be is it's going to be the little bowl that's going to hold the lighting. So now what I want to do is go to change this perspective view back to a front view. Actually, you know what? First I want to do this. I'm going to move this object. Click on this curve, delete it. I don't need that curve. You can make sure that those curves are all deleted too. And then top one, delete. Okay. So now I want to move this here from to 0, enter. The reason why you do that is because it's in the midpoint right on that grid there, which makes it easier for whatever I draw to. So I'm going to draw a curve using segment points. So I can just, maybe I'll come right here, put one in the center there, enter, and then I'll put one. I can turn on snap here, so now it'll automatically go to the grid. One there, one there, one there, one there, one there. Okay, now what I'm going to do is make a curve, control point curve. Click on these curve points. And hit enter. And if I want to change that curve, I can always box these points, and then I can come back in here, click on it, right click and go control points on, or just type points on if you've got a PC, and then I can automatic if I wanted to. I can even make it go in kind of a wonky direction here, but I'm not going to do that. I think it's fun. And then points off, you just right click again if you've got a Mac to points off. Alright, and so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this in two different ways and sweep. So sweep is nice because if I draw any shape, I can sweep it onto this object. Sweep with one rail. And sweep with two rails is nice for making really organic forms. Enter. Enter. Oops. Select the rail. Enter. Select the object to sweep. Enter. I guess it doesn't like it because of the direction I'm going on it. So let's go back to a top view here. Perspective top view. select the rail, select the sweep. Let me put it in shaded here real quick. Select the rail, enter. There we go. And you can change it to closed sweep. Sweep. So that gives you kind of like a little area that this can, and if I want to, I can draw a little sphere to close this. About to there. And then move this and 0.5. Just to, oops. That direction, 0.5. Click. And I'll move this up a little bit too, so I gotta switch my other perspective. I'm going to turn off my snap to grid so I can do it a little freer. Okay, put it in wireframe so that I can see this overlap section, because what I want to do now is trim using this object, enter, and then click on the interior object there. Enter. Because you don't want to have anything overlapping. You've got the exact same shape and the objects are touching, but you don't want them overlapping. So let me go ahead here and go to shaded. Okay. And then I'll go up here, go to solid, go to cap planar holes, click on this, enter. So that closes that hole. Now what I can do is I can make multiples of this. You know what? Let me do this actually. So I deleted it. Now I want to do pipe, which is another version of the same thing pretty much. Click on this. Select the size that I'm going to use. Maybe like that. And enter. Enter. So pipe just makes a pipe basically. And you can select whether this one's closed. Okay, now what I want to do is do another sphere. Enter. Right here. Go ahead and trim this off too. So back into wireframe, trim. Use this as a cutting blade, enter, and polysurface. And I'm going to do that too. Okay. And then I'm going to go ahead and right click and go back to shaded. And now I want to make multiples of that, so I'm going to go to the top view. I'm going to right click and put it in shaded. And now I want to make multiples going all the way around here, so I'm going to use the array tool. And I'm going to select the objects to array, which I want to use. Enter. Number in X direction. So I'm going to pick, oh actually let me do that again. Array, but it's a polar array. Array polar. Polar basically means around a pole, like our planet. So then I select these objects, done, and then select my center point, which will be right there, click, And the number I want to do around, maybe 8. Done. And then make sure I'm going the right direction. Click. 360 degrees. Enter. And then does it all look good? Enter. So now back into perspective, you can see a little lamp. And I've done pipe. I've done loft. I've done array. So those are all pretty good. Now what you want to do is make sure that these objects are, anything that's going to be the same materials is separate, but you can group them together so that it's easier to move. So if I select the whole object and go group, here, now it's all one piece. So if I click on one, you see I click on them all. That way it's really easy to move these pieces of furniture around. You want to leave all of the objects but not overlapping. So that's again why I trimmed out those sections. If they're overlapping, sometimes when you're rendering, the materials look weird. So each one of these pieces, when I go, should be able to render as different materials, and they're grouped together so that they can be moved around easily. All right, so that should be some new tools. Other things that you might want to know. Array actually works in another way. So if you wanted to do array along linear, select the object, go done, select the first point, so I can click here, and second reference point there, or I can do multiple. So if I did like, this is good for fences and all kinds of other stuff. So click here. You can see the number. It's also good for if you want to do any kind of buttressing in your room or exposed beams. You draw one and then you do a linear array. And there's all the arrays. So array hole, for example, will take a hole that you have in an object and make multiples of it on all sides, that kind of thing. So using this simple lamp gives you a lot of new tools that could expand your repertoire.